All right, so this next segment is a little bit of a Neely mind blower because a lot of people will be like, oh, wow, that's weird. I've never heard that before, right? Melatonin is a horrible, horrible idea. And, here's the thing. You need to know two things about melatonin to understand where I'm coming from. First, melatonin only causes sedation, well, at least as most people use it, as a side effect, right? And two, we're one of the few countries in the world where melatonin isn't really respected as a potentially dangerous compound, right? Other countries, researchers, they call it indiscriminate melatonin use, and it's something that they fight against. So we'll start with that one. So not only is melatonin prescription only in most countries, the doses that are prescribed for melatonin are a fraction of what we use here, right? People are using anywhere between 0.3 to 1 milligram of melatonin. That's normally the upper limit. And if you get 1 milligram of melatonin, you might raise some eyebrows because people think that's even too high, right? Meanwhile, here, people are gobbling down 10 milligrams. We had a vet when I worked for the VAs that was taking 20 milligrams of melatonin a day. And we had to do research to determine if that's going to be safe for him, right? So, here's another kind of aside important point when we talk about anything health and wellness related. It's okay, and you shouldn't be afraid to look outside of the United States health bubble, right? What do the consumer advocacy groups, government bodies, medical expert groups of other countries say? What are their rules? What are their limits? What's their basis or justification? Is it in line with what we're saying, right? It's enlightening to see it, right? To understand how other folks are dealing with the same problems that we are, right? But back to melatonin. So it's only causing this sedation as a side effect. So let me explain that a little bit more. Our common belief is that melatonin is a sleep hormone, and it's not, okay? It's best described as a darkness hormone. Melatonin is secreted by our bodies as the sun starts to go down, normally around 8, 9 o'clock, and it signals all parts of the brain and the body that, hey, it's dark. Really, that's it. And then that sets off a cascade of events that says it's time to sleep, right? So melatonin does have a direct sedative effect, and, that'll make you go to sleep. But that comes with baggage, and that's the part that we have to understand. The baggage is a boulder stuffed in your carry-on luggage. So, it's a sleep effect, but it's coupled with what's called a circadian phase shift. So your circadian rhythm is the rhythm of life, the waking and sleeping kind of rhythm. And so what happens is it shifts that. It can push that if it's used incorrectly. And it's a chronobiotic. It messes with your clocks. So again, you can be sedated by melatonin, but just understand it comes with some pretty serious baggage. So if you take lots of melatonin and you're taking it at the wrong time, you're going to sleep, but you're going to shift out what your body perceives to be nighttime. And, that will in turn change what your body perceives to be daytime. So I'm not saying that melatonin isn't vital or it's a good option for people. It is under the right circumstances and at the right doses. Melatonin's amazingly beneficial to shift workers or people that are traveling across time zones, but only used in the right way. And it's really kind of a science on how you do it. You can't just take it as you get on the plane. So people that need help with their sleep cycle, they have diseases of their sleep cycle, blind people, melatonin is awesome, right? But hint, that's not most of us. Right? So in fact, it's relatively few of us, if we are honest. So it's this indiscriminate use of melatonin that's the problem, right? It messes with your clocks, especially at high doses and when not used correctly. And when I say used correctly, what does that mean? So we're taking something that signals to your body that it's dark. Well, then what happens if we then blast our lights? Or we have our big blue screens, our 90-inch TVs, rocking that Stranger Things such stuff, or like any of the other shows that are on there, right? Aren't those mixed signals? We're telling our body it's dark, but then we're bombarding our eyes and our brains with light. So melatonin used correctly is timing it to help with the needed phase shifts when it's needed, dosed appropriately, much less than what we use, all in conjunction with proper light cues, right? Closing your blinds early so that way it gets darker inside your house, not having bright lights on all the time, right? Going by candlelight even, right? Opening the shades at night as you go to bed so when you wake up, the bright light comes in early. Right? It takes work to use melatonin correctly. And the sedative effects of melatonin are easily accomplished by a number of different products that don't have the same downsides, the same effects on our internal clocks or circadian rhythm. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to me to use melatonin. So here's the real problem. And I said it before, but I'm going to say it again. The real problem about melatonin is I might be the first guy that you've heard say that. That's kind of a theme with this podcast, right? I'm the first guy to say, get your hair fixed. But anyway, so a review article on melatonin references our excessive use. So, I told you, Dr. Neal Stanley hooked me up with his nerdy friends. I, stalked them and, spent some time understanding all of this stuff a little bit better. And so one of the authors in their paper wrote, in 1996, it was estimated that the sales of melatonin in the United States exceeds those of vitamin C. And we talk about vitamin C quite a bit and how overused that is, right? So much so that there was a global shortage of melatonin because of the United States coming on board and using it more, right? And we use it because it's natural and it's strong. And we know it has something to do with circadian rhythm, so that has something to do with sleep, right? But we really don't understand what we're taking. And I can point at consumers and say, guys, you got to get it together here and you should know this stuff. But I'm really pointing at the professionals, especially the wellness, quote unquote, professionals, right? But definitely conventional practitioners. I hear people all the time, my doctor said just try melatonin. And I get what the doctor's saying. Just try something over the counter to help you sleep. But they're not fully understanding the impact of this natural supplement, especially because most people selling melatonin don't know how to tell people how to use it. So for all those reasons, and because better and less, I guess, complicated products exist, I say that melatonin is a horrible idea.